I have 2% Nigerian. Am I allowed in?
No.
Dear Black women, so as a woman, we have blazed these trails together.
Blazed what trails together? Oh, do you mean when black women started the suffrage movement and then white women took it over and decided to leave black women in the dust? Is that the trail you're talking about? Or how about the Me Too movement that was created by black women and white women took it over and left black women in the dust to the point where they had a march and didn't even invite black women to speak at said march? Is that the trail we blazed together? Curious.
Women, to include black women, got the right to vote after men.
After the Civil War, the suffrage movement splintered over race. Black women had to form their own organization to continue to fight for the right to vote. White women like Elizabeth Cady Stanton publicly denounced extending voting rights to black Americans. The 19th Amendment was ratified in 1920, but it didn't end the fight for black women to vote because white women stood in the way. They didn't come help us. We helped you get the right to vote, but y'all left us in the wind. Black women were actually granted the right to vote in 1965 after the Voting Rights Act was passed. This act enforced the 15th Amendment, which gave black men the right to vote as well. Fun fact, in 1913, organizers of a women's suffrage parade in Washington, D.C. forced black women to walk in the back of the parade separate from white participants. This was an example of the racism black women faced during the suffrage movement. So again, we marched with you, help you get your voting rights, and y'all left us in the wind. But continue.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report. In today's video, we're going to talk about how black women are tired of fighting for the rest of America. Black women have always been on the front lines fighting for justice, but when it comes to voting, history tells a different story about who truly stands together. Time and time again, black women have voted for change, for survival, for the protection of everyone's rights. And yet, when a palm-colored woman turns around and says, "We're in this fight together," the question must be asked, are they really? If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, please consider subscribing, liking and sharing so that YouTube may recommend it to a wider audience. And so now, without further ado guys, let's go straight into this video. But first, let me play you a few clips on this matter and I'll come back with my commentary. As a side note, all credit goes to the creators of these videos.
Still not equal. Equality, equal pay. We still get less on the dollar. So why are you alienating a high percentage of allies? Like, why are you doing this?
This number hasn't changed in 3 elections. We're not alienating you. We're telling you that we're tired of doing all the work and we still get screwed by white women. It's because this number has not changed. So clearly something is off here. This number has not changed. And now we are exhausted and we are taking a break and we are looking to each other because the next 4 years is going to be mad difficult for black women.
People love to talk about women's rights, but what they often ignore is that when palm-colored women won the right to vote in 1920, black women were left behind. The 19th Amendment was passed, but for black women, nothing changed. Racist laws in the South made sure that black people, men and women, were still blocked from voting through literacy tests, poll taxes, and etc. It wasn't until the Voting Rights Act of 1965, 45 years later, that black women were truly able to exercise their rights to vote without barriers. That means that when white women proudly talk about how long they've had the right to vote, black women need to remember that their fight was much longer and much harder. And even today, black voters face modern-day voter suppression tactics, while many palm-colored women take their voting rights for granted. Fast forward to today, black women have never stopped showing up. In the recent election, 92% of black women voted for Kamala, understanding that their rights, especially reproductive rights, were at stake. They voted to protect themselves, their daughters, and their communities. They voted with clarity and purpose. But what did palm-colored women do? A majority of them voted for Trump, again, just like they did in 2020, even after everything Trump said and did. And now, after their rights are under attack, some of these palm-colored women want to turn to black women and say, "We're in this fight together." But are they?
What constitutes white? This is 2024.
While skin color is a factor, white is more about the social position and power dynamics associated with being perceived as white, not just a description of someone's complexion. The concept of whiteness developed through European colonialism and slavery, where light skin were used to establish a hierarchy of power. This is what whiteness is. Here's a more in-depth definition of what white is according to the social construct of race. You can go ahead and pause and read.
If it's just a black pack, like what? Where do you draw the line? Only certain black people?
Palm-colored women have always had the privilege of prioritizing their gender over their race, something black women have never been able to do. Feminism, in its traditional sense, was never built for black women. Back in the suffrage movement, palm-colored women fought for their right to vote but didn't want black women at the table. Some of them even aligned with white supremacists to push their cause forward. Fast forward to today, and the same pattern repeats. Palm-colored women show up when it benefits them. But where were they when black women needed support? Where were they when Kamala was being attacked with racist and sexist rhetoric? This is the difference. Black women don't vote based on feminism alone. They vote for survival. When black women vote, they are thinking about reproductive rights, yes, but also about healthcare, criminal justice reform, education, police violence, and economic security. Every election is life or death. Palm-colored women, on the other hand, have the luxury of picking and choosing. Many of them still live in privilege, where they don't fear the police, where they don't experience racism in the healthcare system, where they don't have to worry about their sons being racially profiled. And that's why when some palm-colored women say we're in this together, it rings hollow. No, they are not, because when it mattered most, they did not show up. When it mattered most, they voted against their own interest. Or worse, they voted against black women's interest.
I don't know if you noticed, but the world is still being run by men.
White men. The men that you guys raise. The world is being run by white men. Gotta have your adjectives. And yeah, we've noticed.
Women had nothing to do with slavery. Literally. Like nothing. I'm sure we were saying, hey babe, this is pretty effed up because we're nurturing, we're loving, it's wrong.
Hey babe, it's pretty effed up. What Delulu land are you living in? White women owned slaves. In fact, research shows that white women were active participants in the slave economy, and they were as brutal as men in their management techniques. White women bought, sold, managed, and sought the return of enslaved people. The ones that ran away from the plantation, they were the main ones trying to get them back. They were often listed as owners in nearly 40% of the transactions involving enslaved women. They also fought in courts to preserve their legal ownership over enslaved people, because owning a large number of enslaved people made a woman a better marriage prospect. The Mississippi Married Women's Property Law of 1839 was the first law in the United States to give married women ownership rights over enslaved people. It wasn't like they were like, no, we don't want that law. We don't want to be able to own people.
Why there's this divide, and especially when we all need each other. What happened? Why are you guys mad at white women?
We are angry because white women are the problem. You guys are the largest demographic in the country. Out of 250 million white people, 60% to 65% of them are white women. Yet you guys continue to do this. Continuously stabbing us in the back. While we're out here fighting for the rights of all women, this is what you guys do. We are exhausted now. So in this moment, we're going to be thinking about us, resting. Y'all go out there and go do the work. We have been shouldering the responsibility for everyone's freedom in this country for far too long. It is time for you to get up and go work. We are resting.
Here's the thing. Real allyship doesn't start when you're personally affected. Real allyship starts when you fight for justice before it lands at your own doorstep. Being an ally means standing up before your rights are on the line. It means protecting voting rights for black communities before you need black women to save you. It means supporting black women in politics before you realize they are the only ones truly fighting for you. And this is a cycle that happens over and over again. Black women show up, black women vote, black women fight, and then palm-colored women betray them at the ballot box. They did it in 2020, they did it in 2024, and they will do it again. So why should black women keep playing the role of savior? Black women have done the work. They have carried democracy on their backs, and now they are resting. For too long, black women have been expected to save a country that refuses to save them. They have been the most loyal voting bloc, the most consistent fighters for justice, and the ones who always show up. But now it's time for black women to take a break.
This message is for black women and black women only. Today, the entire country let us know where we stood. The entire country told us we were on our own. The entire country collectively told us. We are tired of the popular narrative, if you're in trouble, go find a black woman. No, we are in the front lines of so many marches and causes that have very little to do with us. That's got to stop. Over the next 4 years, we got to pour into each other and ourselves like we've been pouring into other people. We are constantly getting let down, beat down by everybody around us. That's got to stop. From now on, we literally need to mind our business. Don't ask us for nothing, because we're taking this moment to rest. Don't expect anything, because we're taking this moment to rest. Black women, we got to pour into ourselves, into our families, and other black women. I'll admit, I'm not completely surprised that this happened. The entire world has never held back on their dislike and disdain for black women. And as black women, we just continue to love and pour into the world anyway, even though they don't like us. Over the next 4 years, we've got to mind our business. We've got to start a business, start earning and saving. We have to start pouring into ourselves and each other, black women. And then we got to rest. We're going to rest.
So what needs to change? The truth is, black women are tired, and palm-colored women need to stop prioritizing whiteness over gender. They need to stop being comfortable with the privilege that allows them to betray other women every election cycle. They need to be accountable for the role they play in keeping white supremacy alive. Because black women, they've been doing the work, and now they're resting. So the next time a palm-colored woman tells a black woman we're in this fight together, ask her one simple question. Did you vote like it? Because history shows that when it matters, black women and palm-colored women have never truly been in the same fight. And until that changes, the so-called sisterhood is nothing but a myth. Otherwise, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Also consider subscribing, liking and sharing because it helps me grow my channel. I also have another video on the American dream and how it's no more. And if you enjoy such kind of content, please click up here and enjoy. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, the Joy Report out.